Okay, so welcome to my channel, Just Live a Little. Now, I'm Mike, and today we're just going to have a little bit of a chat and a ride out on my little Herald Classic 400. Why am I doing this? Some of you may have already watched, right in this spot, I did a review of the brand new BSA Bantam 350. Now, that bike really impressed me, I've got to be honest, and if I could, right now I would definitely buy it. And if you're after a small engine, sort of water-cooled, economic, fantastic little bike at an amazing price of £3,499 plus on the road, then go ahead and get it. Now, I paid a very similar price for this almost 3 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago this month. And it's proven to be an absolute legend of a motorcycle. So some of you guys that watch my channel regularly have asked me to do a little review of this bike. Now, what is it? It's basically brought into the UK from China by Herald. Now, Herald are a British company that work out of, I think they're in Cambridge. And they were selling mostly a 125 sort of learner size motorcycles, which was their bread and butter. They then increased to 250 and 400s. And eventually they bought out the Brute 500. So what is this? It's basically a 400cc, 397cc to be precise, single cylinder, pushing out about 27 brake horsepower. It's got a 13-litre tank. It runs on a very rudimentary suspension, but there's twin shocks on the rear, and obviously on the front, telescopic right way up forks, and the brakes are so a single disc on the front, single disc on the back, twin pot on the front, single pot on the back, but it is really basic. So since buying this bike, I've done quite a bit. I've had the wheels powder coated, it's completely different colour. Yeah, I've spent a little bit of money on it, but this has now done over 13,000 miles. Now, I love this bike because it's actually got twin exhausts. And for those eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice, I'm not going to touch it, it's probably still a bit hot, but the end cans are different. So I've just got back from a 3,000 mile road trip around Europe, leaving from the UK, going to Holland on the ferry from just up the road here, Harwich to Hoek, Holland, went all the way up through Holland to Assen, and then went through the length of Germany down to Bavaria, then into Austria, through the length of Austria, into Slovenia, all the way through 4 nights in Italy, all the way through the mountains, and then along the south of France and up back into the UK through the length of France again. So over 3,000 miles on the last trip without a single hiccup. And I'm really, what can I say? I've got a real soft spot for this bike. So there we go. This is the Herald Classic 400. I'll do a little walk round and you can have a slightly closer look. So welcome on board the little Herald Classic 400. Now, as I say, I've done a lot of miles on this bike. In fact, looking down, it's 13,058 miles. We're now in the Suffolk countryside, just riding around the back roads. Now, for those of you who didn't watch, I have done a review of the new BSA Bantam 350, and kind of in a comparison to this little bike. Now, I've got to be honest, of course this bike isn't quite as good as the BSA Bantam. However, it does have a little bit more top end at the moment, a little bit, probably very similar, but I would say the acceleration on this one is probably a little bit better. But maybe because I've got aftermarket end cans on this bike. Now this bike, as I've already said, is a single cylinder with twin exhausts. It is derived from an old Honda engine, so it's built on license by the Chinese on the design of the old Honda. So it's got a bit of a pedigree. The suspension on the bike is much more rudimentary than the Herald, the BSA, sorry, has got much better suspension. It is probably firmer than this, but when you go around the corners you can feel that this doesn't quite handle the road as well as the BSA. So for example, I mean, the wheels are definitely planted on the tarmac slightly better. At speed, this I have got used to it. It's not as bad as it used to be because I've got these bar risers on, so I'm actually sat in a better position than it was originally. They're different handlebars, and obviously I've got the bar risers on here. Now these are much wider handlebars than I had originally, and with that in combination with the bar risers has made it much more stable than it was. However, it's still nothing like as stable as the BSA. But I still love this little bike. You can't buy them anymore. BSA is now stopped selling bikes completely, and is just doing parts, clothing, and sort of service materials and things like that. So you can still get the parts for it. Doesn't mean you can get them particularly quickly. Quite often they've run out and they need to order in from China, and there might be a 2 to 3 month lead on some of them, but as long as you can preempt stuff, it's fine. And a lot of stuff, again, like I say, is a bit generic. There is another bike that does use the same engine and gearbox as this, and that's the MASH 500, which is a 397cc, as this one is, pushing out 27 brake horsepower. But when you've done over 13,000 miles on a bike, and that isn't, I mean, it stays in the shed most of the time. It's parked up in the dry. That is just me doing my little tours, or not so little. And what I'm doing basically is proving, or asking the question, do you need a 35,000 pounds adventure motorcycle to do these trips? And the answer to that is, well, it depends on your budget. You know, I'm going to be honest that I love pushing myself really hard, and clearly I've pushed this little Herald really hard. I'm sat in traffic, and it's typical. I put my camera on and there was empty roads, and now there's traffic. But never mind. So yeah, I've proven, and those of you who haven't watched it, then please do go ahead and watch my videos, and I will apologise for the very first series. You'll notice the bike was black then. I've already mentioned why that is, and I love it the way it is. I think it looks great. But I've proven now that you can get a cheap little Chinese bike and get on it and tour. I love this little bike. It's gotten under my skin, that's for sure. So we're just at the beginning of September, and for those of you who are regular watchers of my channel, you'll have seen that I just got back from a over 3,000 mile trip around Europe. Holland, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Italy, France. Popped into just checking where I'm going. Popped into Monaco, all along South France, and then without spoiling it too much, proved that you can wring the neck of this little bike once again on its maximum speed, pretty much all day long, with all full of luggage. So, and do a lot of mileage in one go. I absolutely love this little thing. It just hasn't let me down. It's let's pull in a little bit. The only thing that's really happened since I had the bike is I had a small problem, electronic problem, when I first got it, because I'd ridden this in the winter on my first road trip down to the Pyrenees, through the length of France into Spain, and then got the ferry back. It was a 7 or 8 day trip. I got the ferry back to Portsmouth and then back up to East Anglia in the dark, in the winter. End of February I left, and that was sort of 2 years ago this February, but I'm closer to next February now, aren't I? So it'll be 3 years then. And I've owned the bike 3 years this month, so it's due its first MOT. So yes, back to the electronic problem. I'd returned from that trip. I then got on the bike and I had an incident with a monk jack, and then it was basically sat in the garage for quite some time. I didn't take it out again until the early summer, where I got it resprayed, etc. But when I first took it out before the respray, I'd ridden it about a mile and it cut out, and I couldn't get it to start again. And I'm not particularly mechanically minded, but yeah, I know my way around an engine and the electronics on the engine. So I deduced that I was not getting a spark, and it turned out to be the coil. The coil is placed right on the front of the frame on this bike, and obviously water had got in, it corroded, and just bad connection. I just changed that over, cleaned up the connection from the wiring loom, and I've never had a problem since, because I did put a wodge of grease in there to ensure that going forwards I wouldn't have that problem again. So yeah, I've done quite a bit to the bike, which I've already pointed out. The yoke here, I'm going to do these handlebars. They're going to be powder coated, probably. I don't know. I might not do them in the gold of the wheels. I might do them silver, along with the yoke and these bar risers. But I've done quite a bit to the little bike, and I'd never get that back in return. So if I part exchange this bike for another bike, I wouldn't get much for it. It means more to me than it's worth. See how far I've got left to go. 11 minutes, right. So I'm not far from Woodbridge here. For those of you who haven't been to East Anglia, it may not have the mountains, but it has some amazing twisty roads, and it sort of undulates a little, but it goes through some fantastic little villages, you know. I'd be interested to know what my regular viewers think of this exhaust. It's a little little bit more obnoxious than the original. I do have a new end can to replace the one that the baffle collapsed on. But this bike, I mean, it gets to 60 super quick now, and I don't know whether I just got used to the bike struggling to breathe because the baffle had collapsed on the right hand end can, and whether the bike had reduced performance because of that. I mean, of course it would have done, but it just seems to breathe so much better now. I just wish it was a little bit quieter. Does sound good. So look at the beauty of this area we're in. I absolutely love this little bike. You know, I have ridden something else to compare it against, and yeah, if I was after a sort of relatively small capacity, very lightweight bike, I mean, although that is still 20 kilograms heavier, the BSA Bantam, than this is 165 kilograms. The BSA Bantam is 185, so but you don't notice it. The seat height is lower on this. I can easily flat foot with bent knees on this one. So those of you who watch YouTubers, Mr. Darcy and the Old Man, now I watch them, and they're from my old neck of the woods, or they're sort of based out of Rutland area where I used to live many years ago, and they've actually reviewed this bike when it first came out, when Herald brought it out. So yeah, go ahead and watch that. I have to realise the brakes on this they're sufficient-ish. They're not anywhere near as good as the BSA Bantam. And these roads are the roads that I was on when I reviewed the Bantam. But I shan't look down at the speedo because that would. Look down now. Yeah, the bike will easily push on beyond 80 miles an hour and get there quite quickly. The BSA probably about the same, to be honest, I think, but this one does rev much higher, and the vibrations on this, it's a much more vibey single cylinder. It's not quite as refined as the BSA. Well, it's nowhere near as refined as the BSA. This is air cooled, and the BSA obviously is water cooled. Love the popping. So that's me back to Orford. Beautiful little town in the Suffolk countryside with quite a bit of history. So perhaps we'll have a wander around and we'll do a little bit of B-roll of Orford. summary, as this bike is right now, I would never put it down, put it that way. I wouldn't recommend it purely because nearly missed that turning, because it's you know, it's not so easy to get spares for. You don't have the warranties that you did have, and you just have a dealer warranty with something you might be able to find second hand. But there is a very similar bike they still sell, I believe, the MASH 500, which is exactly the same with 397cc. Go get that. I absolutely love this little thing.
Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.